I may be known to tell like pretty lengthy stories, so I won't do that right now.
My battery on the camera's going. So
it's going. Okay.
Plenty of time.
I'm not from Oklahoma. I'm not from Stillwater in any way. I have no connection to this town before I moved here, and had no connection to the town. And so basically fell in love with the idea of entrepreneurship when I was 18. I was working at a coffee shop. 17, 18, I was working at this coffee shop that moved into a brand new building downtown because we had a tornado rip through my town when I was a freshman in high school. And so they got all this incentive money and went big. They went big all the way. Restaurant, bar, underage drinking, lots of tax problems through this place. The coffee was wonderful. The grilled cheese sandwich with like 4 different cheeses and bacon was awesome. Like I said, I tell very long stories.
I'm imagining that grilled cheese right now.
Very good. We can order Uber Eats at any moment during this podcast. Also, it is a technology that exists.
That would be a first.
I like doing things first a lot.
Yeah.
So anyway, I fell in love with it there, and I'm from Parsons, Kansas. So I was born and raised Parsons, Kansas, 9,000 people, southeast Kansas. It's the corner. It's really close to Joplin, Missouri by like an hour. And anyway, by the time I was 20, like this idea of doing things kind of on my own terms, potentially, like creating community, creating connection, creating a space for people to feel very comfortable, very alive, and allowing that to grow organically was something that I knew I wanted to be a part of, whether it was through music or because I was a musician for a long time. I still play music, but like that was really the vein that I thought I was going to head in. But I'd written this business plan for a coffee shop. And then I met who became my wife, Crystal, and she had wanted the same since she was 8 years old. She's from the same area, but we didn't meet all this time because we grew up like 8 miles apart. She went to the rival high school. She had moved to Emporia, Kansas to go to college, and I was going to community college in Parsons at Labette Community College, LCC. And anyway, we met while she was home over Thanksgiving break in 2004. And then immediately, like long distance relationship for a year and a half. Talked about how we knew we wanted to own our own business someday. And like for me, it had been very new, but for her, it had been in her mind for a really long time. So we wrote a business plan for a coffee shop. After a year and a half of long distance dating, I moved to Emporia. We got married, and then we were just like, food industry, coffee, all this sounds like something that we don't really know anything about.
Yeah.
But she had gotten me into riding bikes, and I had been running very terribly for a long time. And so you're a runner? Are you a runner?
No.
Okay.
No, well, I just force myself to do things that I really don't want to do, but we grow, don't we? So that's why I run, is because I want to do things that I never think I can do.
Absolutely.
So that's why I did the race last year.
Yes. Yeah. Oh man, I can't wait to hear about this. So I moved up there in 2006, and that was the same year that the DK 200 started. Unbeknownst to us, we didn't know there were 34 people behind a hotel. The story, the legend has it, and we didn't become involved really with the bike shop scene until 2007. I begged for a job at High Gear Cyclery because I was working on bikes at our apartment and in our basement, and I was working for contractors while I was finishing school. So I was doing like cabinet building and doing all sorts of flipping houses, roofing houses, siding, sheetrock, plumbing, like you name it, we were doing it. But the whole time I was falling way deeper in love with bikes, way, way, way deep. And this idea that we could open a bike shop somewhere.
Yeah.
So 2008, before I even had a job at High Gear, I called Trek and said, hey, like obviously I know you're one of the top 3 biggest brands in the world. I called the local rep, so I was calling Wade, who's the Midwest rep, and I just said, hey man, we're building this business plan. I've fallen in love with bikes. Crystal got me into it. This is who we are. I'm on like the very slow, very terrible mountain bike race team that's out of High Gear. I'm begging for a job, but we're building this business plan and we want to open a shop and we want to do it with your brand because it's all encompassing, kids bikes all the way to the top. And we just said, we'll go anywhere. And I wasn't thinking about him looking in his backyard territory. I was just thinking like, they'll know where the open markets are. I was 2008. I was 23.
Yeah. No kids at this point?
No.
Yeah.
Nope. 22. I was 22, almost 23. And so then he said the first thing out of his mouth was Stillwater, Oklahoma. He was like, Stillwater, Oklahoma. And unbeknownst to him, the day before that, it was February of 08, I had met up with my friends who used to go to school in Stillwater. They live in southern Oklahoma now in Ardmore, and we're very, very good friends. So Crystal and I drove from Emporia to Stillwater just to hang out with them for Valentine's Day and just have a blast and just do whatever. And we didn't go see the other bike shop here in town, Cooper's. We didn't know anything about the dirt roads. We didn't know anything about campus. We just stayed the night in a hotel, went out to eat, drove home. Next day, called Trek. Next day, they were like, Stillwater. And I was like, dude, you have no idea what you just said to me. I was literally there 24 hours ago. And I have no other connection besides my friend who used to go to school here. And so then the process began that Trek was like, we really like this idea. We know you have no experience, but we can tell that you're driven, blah, blah, blah. We'll hold the market. Because they said that people were looking at opening a shop here from Minneapolis to Dallas. But like, really, truly, what was that really like? We don't know.
Yeah.
So anyway, wrote the business plan for 3 years. Originally called the bike shop Bike Love, because we love people and we love bikes, and like it made sense at the time in our brains. But we decided
was the logo a peace sign.
The logo was not anything like heart-shaped bicycle wheels. It was nothing like what people think. It was going to be clean. We had a whole Urban Outfitters kind of like design-esque idea of cleanliness, and now Urban Outfitters may be a different thing a decade later, but at the time it was very clean, very put together, very nice retail experience. So anyway, Bike Love did not come together, and we were trying to find like a district in town because we didn't know Stillwater to name the shop after, like an area of town. Sure. You know, like I mean,
like some of the drinks are whatever.
And you're from
Wales.
You're from Wales. Okay, so like there are districts within the city that are named after people or places or things, and it's like we wanted to really tie in and give a name to a place.
Right.
We couldn't find one because, well, there aren't any in this town. This is very much a small town with this insane thing attached to it that is OSU. And so we just thought, well, let's just create our own district, and like we'll just call it district in its own right, and we'll build our own community. And that's where the name came from. So anyway, lots of ups and downs, crazy, way more detail. But finally, the first week of September of 2011, we sold our house in 24 hours, all on our way down here with our daughter, Emery, who was 1 at the time. She turned 1 on August 31st. And we moved down here not knowing a soul. And then by October 27th, 2011, we were open on a Wednesday. Yeah.
That's impressive.
And also, like, the whole time before we came, I knew I was watching what was happening with DK. And the whole thing with DK was that, you know, by the time of 2010, there were 500 people on Commercial Street in downtown. And I was like, this is unbelievable. There are 500 people on bicycles attempting a 200-mile race today, right now, downtown. And so I thought, there needs to be a 100-mile event in the spring. There has to be one. There isn't one. If we're moving to Oklahoma, which is the plan, and we get there and the dirt roads are tight, then we'll do it.
Yeah.
And so that was the precursor. So we had the idea for the race before the shop was even open.